Hi everyone, and welcome to the video analysis of our pose running clinic. You'll see in a minute why I was kicking myself for not getting you guys line up in the same order for the before and the after video. On the top we can see Lori in the before video. On the bottom we can see her in the after video. So she's running by here. What I'm looking for is the initial contact when the foot hits the ground. Lori's done the pose running clinic before, and she's got a pretty good initial contact where it's not so far out in front of her body, but just only slightly in front. And below you can see maybe that's improved a little bit over the course of the clinic. The next thing we're going to do is we're going to advance frame by frame. We're going to see how many frames for her to get into the pose position. So it's going to take 1, 2, 3 frames to get to the pose position. You can see Lori is fairly upright here, which is great. Lots of people will be leaning forward at this point, but she looks pretty good. So we'll look at the bottom, how long it takes her to get into pose. It's going to be 1, 2. So slight improvement in terms of being faster to get into pose, which means she can fall faster, and she's wasting less energy by spending time getting in and out of the fall. So from there I'm going to advance and see how long it takes for her trailing leg to lift from the ground. So we're going to look at and see. It'll be 1, 2, 3, 4, 4 to 5 for that toe to come off, and then 1, 2, 3, 3 to 4 for the toe to come off in the second video. So you can see that there's a slight improvement in terms of how many frames it's taking for her to get in and out of that pose position. She's also got a slightly better initial contact position in the after video where it's directly underneath her rather than being out in front. There's the other side. And she's pulling, the other thing I wanted to say about Lori is areas where she can improve is she's pushing off a little bit. You can see in that back leg, see how she's pushing off? You really see the calf active there if you've got a big screen. And I also wanted to work on being slightly faster in the pull. The optimal would be 2 to 3 frames for that pull off. And right now it's taking more like 3 to 4. So other than that, really good, Lori. All right, so I'll advance to the next person. This is going to be Suzanne. So we got Suzanne here. And now I got to find Suzanne on the after video, which is going to be person number 8. There we go. Okay, so I'm going to advance everyone till the first full contact of the foot on the floor. I want to see that foot is taking the full body weight at that point, and it's going to be 1, 2, 3, 4. So 3 to 4 to get into that pose position. And then 1, 2, probably about 2 to get, maybe 2 to 3 to get into the pose position on the lower. But one thing that definitely we can see here is in the after video, she's much more upright. You can see the core is engaged, whereas in the before video, she's really leaning forward. So I'd expect that to take its toll on, number 1, low back, number 2, on knees, because she doesn't have her core engaged as much as she does in the below video. Okay, so then let's see how long it takes her to take the foot off the ground. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, and then in the bottom 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. So 5 to 6. So what we want is a faster pull. We want to get that foot pulled off the ground faster. So we've done a really good job of improving the upright position, but we just want to pull faster from the ground. All right, so the next person is going to come along here, chasing Suzanne. That's going to be Yasu. He's coming fast. And he's got a big heel strike coming in. All right, I'm going to find Yasu on the bottom. He's way back here. Sorry, this is going to be a long video in the end. All right, so let's, actually, you can just see him even coming in. I like how the foot is more relaxed in the below video, but it's still getting ready to strike in front of the body. So that means he's going to decelerate until that foot gets underneath his center of mass. So let's take a look. Full contact of that foot in the top video. Trailing leg is pretty far out the back. Also, you can notice quite a bit of shifting of his shoulders from side to side here, as you'll see in a second. So let's get that foot on the floor pretty much there. And we're going to advance it now. So slightly better in terms of the foot being more directly underneath him, but just sort of marginally better. And then we're going to advance the frame. So 1, 2, 2 to 3 to get to the pose position, really spinning those shoulders from side to side. So that's something I'd like to see having improved over the course of the clinic here. And if we advance the bottom one, 1, 2, that's a really nice pose position right there. So 2, and now look at how much more square his shoulders are versus being rotated in the top position. That's going to take less load on his low back, less load on his core, which means he'll have a stronger frame for running longer, faster. So in terms of Yasu, I would like to see the front foot even more directly underneath the center of mass when it hits the ground, but he did improve in terms of slightly less frames, definitely less twisted, but I'd like to see him just pulling up faster off the ground. He's pushing off a little bit there, you can see, like Laurie, just slightly, so he could be pulling his leg off the ground rather than pushing off at that point. All right, next is going to be Denise. So here comes Denise. She's done the pose clinic before as well. And she's way at the back of the pack at this point, so I'm going to fast forward. Here we go. All right. So she's got some minimalist shoes on here as well by the looks of it. Full foot hitting the floor right there. Full foot hitting the floor right there. Looks pretty similar top to bottom. Definitely noticing the rotation there. Yeah, on both videos. So we'd like to get rid of that rotation of the shoulder side to side, kind of like what Yasu was doing. So get that back into position. So we're going to go 1, 2, 3. 3 to get into the pose position. And then for the bottom one, 1, 2, 2 to 3 again to get into the pose position. Let's see how long it takes for the back foot to come off the floor. 1, 2, 3, 4 to 5. So we want to be pulling sooner than that. And let's see how it goes on the bottom one. That's 4. So she's pulling a little bit sooner, which is great. She's got a nice relaxed ankle. So I like seeing how she's not really flexing that toe towards her shin. She's letting it hit the floor naturally. A little bit too much rotation. You can really see it there on that side. So we could get rid of that rotation, keep a little bit more stability through the core, and that would probably save the low back. She's nice and upright in both videos, which is great. Just needs to pull a little bit earlier. The initial contact is directly under the center of mass there, which is also really good. All right, so next person. All right, here comes Steve. He's coming in for a big heel strike there. I gotta find him on the bottom video. Look for the blue. They gave him a lot of space. Okay. So, just looking at that, you can see that he's not going to overstride as much. Really, the top, really stretching out those strides. So let's get his initial contact on the floor. Be right about there. So he ends up with a full foot underneath. And also notice the forward lean in his hips as well. So you can see he's leaning forward from the hips, which is going to take a bit of a toll on the low back. So let's hopefully he's improved it in the lower one. There, directly underneath him. And still slightly too far forward in terms of the lean. His head position looks a little bit better, but I'd still like him to get the shoulders back a bit. Actually, as I'm looking at it, it does look like he's a little bit better in the bottom one compared to the top. He looks a little more upright. Could be confirmation bias, but let's go with it. All right, so full foot hitting the floor right there. Now 1, 2, 2 to 3 to get to pose. 1. So really, improved in terms of getting to pose faster here, more like 1 to 2, I would say. Now let's see how long it takes the foot to come off. It's going to be a while. 1, 2, 3, 4. 1, 2, 3. So more like 3. So that's good. So he shortened his stride. I mean, you can look in the top one and how long he's going for a stride there. So what I'd like him to do is I'd like him to pull sooner so that we don't get those long strides. Aim to get that front foot more directly under the center of mass instead of out in front. That second foot is actually better than the first foot. That one's a little bit in front, and then the second one slightly better. He's probably improving because he knew the camera was recording him. And again, I think he's done a little bit better in terms of not leaning forward. Like if you look at that view, you can really see the forward lean, which is great. That's going to make him more efficient. You want to get the hips out in front, but you don't want to lean the shoulders so much forward. Okay? So it almost feels like you're sticking your chest out. All right, next person. All right, this is Bailey. Drawing on my picture now. All right, now I gotta find Bailey, and she's at the very front of the pack. There she is. Okay, so let's get that full. Okay. All right, so just slightly in front of the body. A slight forward lean on both videos at this point, I would say. So now we're going to go 1, 2, 3. 3 frames to get to pose, and on the bottom, it's going to take 1, 2. So that's 2 frames to get to pose. So that's better. And then let's see when the back foot comes off. So 1, 2, 3, 4. 4. Oops. Now I've done it. Darn it. All right, so let's back it up. Pose, back it up. All right, so she's in pose position. So 1, 2, 3, 4, and then let's get pose position now. 1, 2, 3. So a little bit better in terms of pulling faster, which is great. So she definitely improved from the top to the bottom. I think she can get her hips out a little bit more instead of her shoulders. And also, I noted that she's still flexing her foot, and I believe that she's one of the people that mentions getting. So if you look at that top video watching, she's really flexing that front foot, so she's overactive in the front of the calf, which is going to be giving you shin splints over time. So in the bottom one, I'd like to see that foot more relaxed even there. See how it's hitting the floor? You'll see some people who do a better job of this. They'll have a more relaxed, natural position on the way down. All right, so next person. After Bailey is Ophelia. Here we go. All right, and she is number 5. Getting close. Okay, so full weight. Full weight. All right, so under the center of mass, more or less, I mean, just very slightly in front of the body, I would say, which is good, even in the before video. So we'll advance it till she gets to the pose. 1, 2, and 2 frames. 1, 2. 1 to 2, I would say that foot starts to pass the shin at that point. So she's getting into pose very quickly. Let's see how long it takes her to get that back foot off the ground. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. 6 to 7 maybe. 1, 2, 3, 4. Okay, so she's getting back foot up quicker too. So that's good. That's an improvement. Again, we're trying to look for more like 2 to 3 rather than 6 to 7, but definitely an improvement from the before to the after. We need to pull earlier, definitely on Ophelia's case. We get that foot off the ground earlier, spend more time falling, then we're going to be more efficient rather than letting that trailing leg hang out so far there. Okay. Also, look at how the foot's hitting the ground. So kind of like Bailey here, we could relax that ankle more. All right, so the next person, whoops, is Susan. She's got the minimalist shoes on here, which is great. That's going to naturally incline you to do more mid-foot strike or forefoot strike rather than a big heel strike. And now I have to find, I think she's right behind David here. Here we go. All right. Sorry this video is so long, guys. All right, so boom, boom. Right there. Between there and there. So that's good. Slightly better in terms of not striking out in front of the body. And then here we go. Number of frames. Actually, the other thing that stands out to me is she's kind of looking down here, and versus on the bottom, she's much more stacked. So that's a good improvement as well. I like that. 1, 2, 3. 3 frames to get to pose. 1, 2. That's a nice pose position right there. So 2 to get to pose on the bottom. And then 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. Kind of like Ophelia here. We're taking too long to get that back foot off the ground. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. So doing a little bit better on the bottom, but still room for improvement. You can try and get down to 3 to 4 frames. I like that she's more upright. Definitely in this picture you can see, like, look at really, she's leaning forward at the hips and she's looking down versus in the bottom. She's nice and stacked. She looks like she's keeping her core nice and active. So that's really good. The other thing I noted with Susan in the before fit video, if we wind this back a little bit, I'm going to hit play at half speed, and then you can see she's pushing off a little bit. She's bouncing up and down. You can really see that ponytail going up and down. So we want to think about pulling the back foot off rather than pushing off with the back foot. All right, next person. Clear. Tamara, here we go. So, and then she is third in the group. There we go. Okay, so let's get the same foot. All right, so foot striking the ground right about there. Right about there. Okay? So we're going to look at initially that it's not too bad in terms of, even in the before, in terms of contacting way in front of the body. So we're going to go 1, 2, 3. 3 frames, and that's a really nice pose position right there, even in the before. 1, 2. So 2 frames now in the bottom position. In the bottom in the after video, let's see how long it takes. 1, 2, 3, 4 for the foot to come off. 1, 2, 3. 3 for the foot to come off. So it's improved as well in the after. Taking a look at whether or not that front ankle is relaxed. Both look pretty good to me. She's not over flexing that foot. Let's see if she's pushing off a bit. Looks pretty good. You notice that she's sort of leaning forward here. Like if you could see at the hips, she's kind of leaning forward at the hips. In the bottom, it's improved a little bit, but it could still do better. So I'd like to see the hips out in front a little bit more. But other than that, it looks pretty good. And even the starting video was pretty good. I just needed to pull earlier to be more efficient. All right, so the next one's going to be David. All right, here's David, and find him in the after video, I think. He's coming up right there. There we go. Got big strides, so he's going to run right off the screen if I'm not careful. Let's get the same foot going. Okay, so in the before you can see, sort of like Steve, he's setting himself up for a pretty big heel strike here. So we're going to get his full weight on the floor. And then in the after video. Okay, so we'll see in the before 1, 2, 3, 3 to 4 to get to the pose. Okay, and then in the after, that's a nice pose position right there. Is this 2 frames. maybe 2 to 3. Okay, and then on the top, let's see how long it takes for the back foot to come off. 1, 2, 3, 4. And the bottom, 1, 2, 3, 3. So he's doing a better job in terms of getting in and out of the pose position and taking advantage of the fall. The other thing on David I wanted to mention is going back to some of the people that were really flexing their feet. So you can see here, he's that front foot. See how active that front foot is right there, pulling the toes toward. Right here, actually, you can see it. Boom. Right there and right there. So he's got a nice relaxed foot in the after. So I like seeing that improvement. Okay, so the next person is going to be Lori. Oh, okay, that's going to be the end of this video. I have to do another video with Tracy and Lori because they showed up a little bit late, so I have a separate video. But hopefully you like that, guys. But just email me if you have any questions.